Welcome to the NitWits, a weekly roundtable discussion on the Penn State Nittany Lions, now in its 22nd season. Our panel features a longtime Penn State media and NitWits tag team, Neil Rudell of the Altoona Mirror and Mark Brennan of Lions 247 with Fight on State. The NitWits are hosted by WTAJ Sports Director Peter Terpstra, and each week we welcome a former Nittany Lion as our special guest analyst. The NitWits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Coldwell Banker Town & Country Real Estate, Blair County's home-a-day realtor. By Courtesy Motor Sales of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By Encompass Health, a higher level of care. Encompass Healthcare. Ask for us by name. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, carpet cleaning, and rug cleaning. By Reed and Solani Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington. By Allegheny Street Cigar, Allegheny Street Cigar, Blair County's only cigar lounge. By McAlear's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By Freedom RV, get ready to tailgate this Penn State football season with Freedom RV Rentals. By Jethro's, serving ribs, steaks, Italian specialties, and the famous Prospector salad since 1983. Takeouts, delivery, and catering. By Lucky's Beer Distributor. Let Lucky's Beer get you ready for PSU game day. By Remax Results Realty Group, committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service. By Dorman's Jewelry, the answer is always Dorman's. Fullington Trailways, offering round-trip transportation to and from Beaver Stadium from a variety of locations in State College and hotels in the Altoona area. Gio's Barbecue, award-winning hickory smoked ribs, chicken, and much more. By Star Beverage. No matter what type of weather, we are a convenient drive-through one-stop beer store. By Lions 247 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Sunday.
Welcome to Nittany Nation Overtime.
Hey, hi, hello. The NitWits are back. Getting ready for the bowl game. We have Neil, Mark, and our special guest, former Penn State wideout, Joe Nastasi. Thanks for coming on the show.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.
It's always fun having you on the show. And, of course, we're heading to Texas. Penn State's going to the Cotton Bowl. Obviously, Rose Bowl looked like a possibility. Wisconsin's going to the Rose Bowl. But we are heading to AT&T Stadium, Jerry World. If you're a fan, I don't know how you feel about it, because maybe expectations are a lot higher now.
Well, historically, Penn State has always kind of gotten their pick and many benefits of the doubt when it's been an even situation. They've gotten good breaks in the bowl scenarios. But this year, I think they drew a short straw. I just do. I think the Cotton Bowl and to play the group of five is not something that we'll see how the Penn State fans respond. But I just think that after the year they had, I can understand, you didn't get to the Rose Bowl, but I think it's a little bit of a come down.
To me, it's less about what bowl you're going to per se than kind of the fact that now people are kind of looking at Wisconsin as the second best team in the Big Ten. And I think, Penn State had every right to kind of make that argument. The Cotton Bowls, people who go are going to have a good time, as good a time as they would have had at the Rose Bowl. To me, it's more about that perception. I think Penn State, the difficult part about that, though, is that when you have that Big Ten championship game, Wisconsin plays, they were already ahead of Penn State. Penn State didn't play. And so you could understand where kind of some of the thinking was going, but I think if anybody were to look at those teams and the way both of them competed, especially against the best team in the Big Ten, Ohio State, it's hard for me. You could look at other games, sure, but I think when you look at both teams against the best team in the Big Ten, to me it was pretty clear that Penn State was the second best team in the conference.
And looking at it from a fan perspective, you look at things as the bowl games don't hold as much weight as they once did. Okay, so out of those 4 or 5 games, or the New Year's Six bowls that they have, now you're looking at, does it really matter? It's almost more now location than it is the actual bowl or the name. the granddaddy of them all, the Rose Bowl sounds good, the Orange Bowl sounds good, but again, it's just location. I mean, and going out of the season is sort of how we left the season, I think, and how maybe Wisconsin left the season. I think that really made that the determination. And Neil said it correct. We've seemed to always been able to get the benefit of we travel well, so we've always been able to get the better out of something that was in question possibly. But again, the bowls don't mean as much anymore from a fan's perspective because you have 4 teams that really everybody's waiting to see.
And they're going to see them after Penn State plays at noon. But I just think the system, to me, I know it's bragging rights to be in a New Year's Six game 3 out of 4 years. And Wisconsin did have to play Western Michigan a couple years ago. But to me, I'd rather if okay, here, you don't go to the Rose Bowl, Wisconsin's going there. Do you have a choice to go play Alabama in the Citrus Bowl, which I think a lot of people would have been excited about to see and a great test?
Yeah, but when it comes down to the money, that's what it's really all about. And I think what this does now is it squarely puts it gives Penn State the impetus, okay, well, maybe you weren't thrilled with where you ended up. And the players and coaches aren't going to say that. But from a fan perspective and maybe, people kind of in the back of their heads, well, now it's up to Penn State to go and take care of business. I mean, this is a Memphis team that hasn't played well in the postseason, lost to Temple this year. Not a bad team, maybe not the caliber that Penn State was hoping to see, but now is your opportunity. If you go and take care of business, you can prove people wrong.
I'm so on board with that. I mean, you can't go down there and make it a close game and kind of obviously a loss is going to feel real sour, right? I mean, that's going to be really sour. But even a close win might feel a little sour as well. Yeah,
this is a tough situation to be in. When I say that, I mean, I don't mean to, again, look negatively on this game, but you look at the situation where I don't want to say we're in a no-win, but you're correct. I mean, we have to get down there and stamp the win as opposed to just winning to lead into the next year. And again, this is a good team. This team can put some points up. I saw them play earlier. I really don't know how we match up. I think we're going to match up okay because of our pass rush. But again, you just don't know. But you're sort of in a tough spot. Yeah, could you have went down and played Alabama or one of those other teams? Sure, but I mean, then again, are we set up for that quite yet?
Well, I agree with you, Joey, and I think it is going to be an important mindset because, A, what has Michigan done to deserve to go play Alabama? Yeah, but it is sort of a no-win situation, and you are expected to go there and play well because if you don't, you're not going to carry momentum into next year.
All right, coming up next on Nittany Nation Overtime, some changes going down in Happy Valley. We got some news and notes for you, including head coach staying and offensive coordinator on the move. Next.
The Nitwits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Coldwell Banker Town and Country Real Estate, Blair County's home-a-day realtor. By Courtesy Motor Sales of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By Encompass Health, a higher level of care. Encompass Healthcare. Ask for us by name. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, carpet cleaning, and rug cleaning. By Reed and Solani Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Welcome back to the show. We're going to get into some happenings, news and notes kind of around the Penn State football program heading into the Cotton Bowl. I think first on the list would be James Franklin. Obviously signs an extension. He's staying with the team.
Yeah, I mean, when we talked several weeks ago, I said I thought this would happen before the bowl, and I'm not surprised at all. I mean, to me, this was a no-brainer by Penn State. Listen, people can say all they want about what happens in games and this and that, but anybody who takes a step back and looks at how this guy has built the program, and I'm not just talking about recruiting, I'm talking about facilities, I'm talking about coaches, I'm talking about staff. Joe, you're around the program a lot, you know all the people who are there. Mm-hmm. The difference now from 5, 6, or 10, 15 years ago in terms of where this program is, it's absolutely night and day. This guy is a program builder, and he's going to keep building this program. It was a smart thing to do.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I've always been a fan. You know, I know James personally, but aside from that, I mean, like you said, if from a fan's perspective, they just step back and look at the body of work to this point. I mean, again, I said it before, we were left for dead. And, where we're at now, there was a lot of moving parts and just the climb that we've built. And, it's just like anything else. We wanted to be significant, then we became significant. Now, all of a sudden, you're knocking on the door of the playoffs, and now you need to be in the playoffs, you need to win. And I had a conversation with an individual the other day. I said, well, he was like, we needed a change. And I said, absolutely not. I said, who's the magical coach that wins 14 games every year, every single year, and wins a title every year? Introduce me to that guy.
Well, Dabo and Saban.
Hey,
not going to get
but
that.
Saban's in the Citrus Bowl now, so there you go.
True.
So, point being is I think Penn State stepped it up, did exactly what they had to do. In my opinion, if we would have went a different direction, meaning Penn State would have went a different direction, now you start all over again. You have to do it because the way the transfer portal goes now, if people don't like the way it goes, now you're starting your program all over again.
Yeah, I think it made a lot of sense for the continuity. James has done an excellent job since he's been there. I do think because of how Penn State fans have been raised, that this is new to them, that every other December you're renegotiating a deal. So James has taken the program, I think to preserve this and with the team you have coming back next year, I think it would have created a lot more chaos had they not done this. But I also think that at a certain point, because you have a ton of money that's invested in this coaching staff, so let's see if you can make the elite level next year.
And Penn State's offensive coordinator, obviously taking a head coaching job at Old Dominion, and Coach Franklin was pretty vocal about, hey, happy for Ricky Ronnie, and now the search is on. They're going to have to fill that spot heading into next season. What do you guys think about Ronnie leaving? And they've had a lot of turnover at that position in recent years.
Well, he gets an opportunity. You got to go and take it. I'm a little bit surprised because Franklin had said he thought this was going to be a guy who would be around for a while. But if he chooses to go and become a head coach, I think that's good for him, and I think it reflects well actually on the Penn State program. Here's a guy who's taking a lot of criticism, and another program actually wants him. As we tape this, there's some press conferences that may happen afterward. We can't get into real detail about how things might happen. But what I will say is that James Franklin has committed to this system. So however they go about handling this, whoever comes in is going to have to adjust to this system. And I think that's the smart thing because they've recruited to this system. They've built around Joe Moorhead's system. So even when Joe left, they stayed with it. I think they have to commit to this system and stick with it. And yes, they've struggled at times offensively the last couple of years, but I think this system is the way to go, and they'll be able to get to where they need to be if they get the right coordinator in here.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating there. I mean, Moorhead did a tremendous job. He also had Saquon Barkley standing behind the quarterback and running wheel routes and things like that. So there was a talent level that I don't think Ricky Ronnie quite matched. I'll be curious how he does there. I think his body of work, he may be a better head coach than he was a coordinator. There were times, my criticism of him this particular year was there was just some delayed, not that they didn't use a fullback. I know people joke with me about that, but there were some delays about getting the play in key situations that cost him. Certainly at Minnesota. So, and James was screaming into the headset, and he wasn't saying, "Ricky, would you please get us a play?" So let's see how Ricky does as a head coach. I think he could be presidential in that way, and I'll be also curious who the next guy is.
All right, real quick, let's get into some of the guys that are leaving and coming back on what that means for next season. Who are the guys that we're waiting on at this point?
Well, again, I mean, we're waiting for press conferences to happen between when we tape this and when the show's going to run. So I think we have to be careful. To me, obviously, Etor that was a no-brainer. I mean, before the season, we thought he was going to go. The fact that you're getting a couple of offensive linemen back, Mennett and Fries. I know people have been a little bit critical of Fries, but that bodes well for next year. And obviously, Pat Freiermuth, getting him back, and with who they're bringing in recruiting-wise and who they have at that tight end spot, they are going to be loaded at tight end, even losing Bowers.
Yeah, I mean, like if you look at it, I think it unfolded the way it should have. Hamler, I believe 1 year is going to be great for him to be here with us for another year.
That's in limbo at this point, right?
Yeah, and I, with his size, I believe he has to be in college one more year. That's from what I see. Freiermuth was the big one. I think he could have went and probably been a middle pick. But he'll up his stock. I like where we're at. I think defensively we're going to be good again, but offensively, and I really think it's the offensive line that when we're going to be able to run the football, that's when we're going to be really good.
All right, coming up next on Nittany Nation Overtime, we're going to get into some recruiting. Penn State signed its latest class. We'll bring you that next.
The Nitwits are being brought to you by Allegheny Street Cigar. Allegheny Street Cigar, Blair County's only cigar lounge. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By Freedom RV. Get ready to tailgate this Penn State football season with Freedom RV Rentals. By Jethro's, serving ribs, steaks, Italian specialties, and the famous Prospector salad since 1983. Takeouts, delivery, and catering. By Lucky's Beer Distributor. Let Lucky's Beer get you ready for PSU game day. By Remax Results Realty Group. Committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Welcome back to the show. We are the Nitwits. We're telling you everything you need to know heading into the Cotton Bowl. Penn State's going to take on Memphis in that one, but we just had the early signing period. Recruiting is obviously the lifeblood of every college football team around. Penn State signs 27 recruits, 2 running backs, a quarterback from a star program in Las Vegas. They got 2 guys from Canada. Mark, we're going to go to you right off the top. What do you think stood out about this class that they've signed so far?
Yeah, and our 247 composite rankings, they're number 13, I think, as we tape this, which is a good class. It's another top 15 class, and I think more than looking at individual players, it's a matter that you mentioned it, they're bringing in 27 players. That's a big class. You think about all the people who have kind of cycled through the program the last couple years. There's not one position that they've necessarily met per se. It's more about filling needs across the board. And that's where when you put together solid class after solid class after solid class, now all of a sudden you're not saying, hey, look, they need defensive tackles or they need linebackers. Now they're able to fill across the board. So they've gotten really good players, defensive line, offensive line, all the different positions they've really loaded up. So to me, that was the key. And even as you look forward to next year, it's not going to be a situation where, hey, they have to get this and this and this. They just have to keep restocking, and you look at the depth that they have talent-wise, it's really getting impressive.
Yeah, the way I see it, the way he's building recruiting is you're significant every year. I mean, again, and that goes back to recruiting correctly every year, and that's what it seems to be, hitting it right on the head. You don't want to build for 2022 or 2025. It's now, and that's the game we're playing is right now. What have you done for me lately? That's how the contracts are done. That's how it's just from a fan perspective. People want to win now, and he's building that program to be durable. And year after year, and these recruiting classes are bringing in, like you said, top 15 every year, and we're always solid. We're knocking on the door, and it's gonna happen. We just have to stay with it, and it's gonna happen. I mean, we're right there. I appreciate what direction we're going, like you said, and not specifically focusing on one side of the ball or the other or a position.
Well, his comment yesterday is they're trying to bring in a player at each position every year.
Right.
And so to replenish. The only negative I saw is there's not a kid from Northern Bedford there. What's going on here?
Yeah,
Who's recruiting Bedford County?
Well, yeah, I know. I mean, closest we had was Kevin, right? So
I will say that could be offset by one of my favorite players in the class, Nick Dawkins, the son of Chocolate Thunder, Daryl Dawkins from Allentown. And in talking to Tyler Bowen on signing day, Nick Dawkins, Daryl Dawkins was, for people who don't know, a bigger-than-life NBA basketball star, and Nick kind of has that same personality. And one of the great stories that Tyler Bowen said is he was like the recruiting coordinator within the class. He committed early, and then he was the guy who went out and tried to get other players. So that's another cool thing that you're seeing with Penn State recruiting. It's not just the staff, it's these prospects recruiting each other, and I think that's good because it builds that bond before they ever get on campus. The other thing, they have 11 7 players who are going to enroll early in January.
Yeah.
That is big, especially with the 27-member class. So now you're not bringing in 27 in June. You're bringing in 11 now. It's a little bit of a tough transition for them, but to get them in early and through spring practice is big. We saw it last year with your guy, Keaton Ellis, how big that is for players.
Huge.
And they're going all over. I mean, they're hitting, like, this is no doubt, obviously, a national recruitment for Penn State going down to Florida, and maybe that has to do with the amount of talent that's
easy.
So.
We have listen, Joe. I think Joe would be the first to admit that Pennsylvania doesn't have the amount of talent that maybe it once did. There's still some elite talent, but Penn State is always going to have to rely on Pennsylvania as its core in this area. But when you can't get everything you need, hey, go out to Vegas. They're getting kids from Texas now. There are a couple kids from Florida. Sider's doing a great job down in Florida. So this is a national recruiting thing, something that they didn't do at the end of the Paterno era.
These coaches are working extremely hard in December.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, with all the moving
Year
parts
round.
they have, but especially December, it looks like it's really become a busy month.
Yeah, and the cool thing is, so we get a little bit of access to the war room,
Yeah.
and not only are they working on this class, you could see them, and we don't know who they're talking to, but you could see them working on the next class already. It never ends. They already have a few commitments for 2021.
And they have a big, Franklin was really giving some shout outs to his support staff, the people that aren't the coaches.
Do a great job.
I mean, there's so much that goes into recruiting, and it should be that way. If that's how you're going to win, you got to put your resources there, and you got to make it happen. All right, coming up next, before we head to Texas, we got to make our picks one last time. We'll see you after the break.
The Nitwits are being brought to you by Dorman's Jewelry. The answer is always Dorman's. Fullington Trailways, offering round-trip transportation to and from Beaver Stadium from a variety of locations in State College and hotels in the Altoona area. Gio's Barbecue, award-winning hickory smoked ribs, chicken, and much more. By Star Beverage. No matter what type of weather, we are a convenient drive-through one-stop beer store. By Lions 247 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Sunday.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Welcome back. Before we get to our picks, we want to just mention one more topic. It's important that a lot of these Penn State players that are returning next year, or Yetur Gross-Matos leaving, they made their announcements very early. What do you think that means?
I think it helps with the bowl game. Last year, a lot of these players were half out the door when they were playing Kentucky emotionally, and Kentucky's players were all in, even their star players. So hopefully that's a carryover, I think, for Penn State here.
All right, let's take a look at those Stan Needs Nitwit of the Year standings. We got one more, and we got a close battle. Neil, you won the last week, so you're going to make your prediction first.
Okay, yeah, we do have a close battle, so everybody's in it except the guest. It's good to have you here, though, Joey.
I appreciate that.
Penn State has not scored more than 30 points too often this second half of the season. They got to keep Memphis's offense off the field. I'm going to say Penn State 30, Memphis 27, and I have one mandate. You stay away from my pick.
Wow. All right, Joe, what do you think?
Well, I see Memphis throwing it around a lot, but what that means, I think we're going to get some pressure on them. I think we're going to score when we have to score. I'm going Penn State 42, Memphis 28.
I've always had the belief that teams that go into bowl games without head coaches, like Memphis, they're not going to do well. I feel like that just causes so much change and turmoil within that program. So I think Penn State is going to get a pretty big win. They're going to win 45-17 in the Cotton Bowl.
Whoa. Yeah, I think you talk about 1 foot out the door. The defensive coordinator left, the head coach left, so I think Penn State is definitely going to score some points. If I picked the same score as Neil, I could pretty much wrap this up, but I would never do that. I'm going to go big.
Feel the love, brother.
I'm going to go big. I think Penn State's going to score a bunch of points. I'm going to say 52-30.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right,
hey, listen, they've had some fun in some bowl games, and I think this is going to be one of them.
And, I mean, it's set up like that, right? You got Memphis, which is a good team, but their coach is out the door, and smaller school, hasn't played the schedule. Penn State is battle-tested. Like, the names kind of ring out like that, but we'll see what happens. Of course, Penn State's going to play in the Cotton Bowl December 28th. It's a noon Eastern kickoff. It's going to be 11 a.m. Central. Get down to Texas if you want to see it and get some good barbecue. Sounds like a good plan. That's what I'm going to do. We will see you next time. See you later.
The Nitwits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Coldwell Banker Town & Country Real Estate, Blair County's home-a-day realtor. By Courtesy Motor Sales of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By Encompass Health, a higher level of care. Encompass Healthcare. Ask for us by name. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, carpet cleaning, and rug cleaning. By Reed and Solani Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington. By Allegheny Street Cigar, Allegheny Street Cigar, Blair County's only cigar lounge. By McAlear's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By Freedom RV, get ready to tailgate this Penn State football season with Freedom RV Rentals. By Jethro's, serving ribs, steaks, Italian specialties, and the famous Prospector salad since 1983. Takeouts, delivery, and catering. By Lucky's Beer Distributor. Let Lucky's Beer get you ready for PSU game day. By Remax Results Realty Group, committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service. By Dorman's Jewelry, the answer is always Dorman's. Fullington Trailways, offering round-trip transportation to and from Beaver Stadium from a variety of locations in State College and hotels in the Altoona area. Gio's Barbecue, award-winning hickory smoked ribs, chicken, and much more. By Star Beverage. No matter what type of weather, we are a convenient